Strong takes? He's got them.
He's on pace for 50 turnovers in 2 years. I'm not saying Baker's going to be bad. Baker is bad.
He's got questions that really make you think.
How is Jason Garrett still employed at 10:30 a.m. Central Time on 12/24 Christmas Eve?
He doesn't shy away from being bold.
Jameis Winston is everything the NFL Sunday Ticket was credited for.
He's not afraid to speak the truth.
Aaron Rodgers is an MVP. What the hell, is the national media losing their mind?
Now over to Seamun's 11.
I'm going to start the show off today with a little bit of a rant. I've thought about this, and the more I think about it, the more and more I just can't get it out of my head. The more and more I can't, I'm trying. I consider myself a pretty nice guy. I consider myself a pretty honest guy. I just can't get it out of my head how anybody can like this Aaron Rodgers fella. Living in Wisconsin, Aaron Rodgers is treated like a god. Aaron Rodgers loves the sound of his own voice. After he gets absolutely destroyed for the second time by the same team, after he opened up his mouth after being beat down 30-8 saying, "We'll be ready next time," all they were ready for was another ass whooping. This guy, he has the nerve to come out in a press conference and say, if this was in Lambeau and it was cold weather, it would be a different game. How, Aaron Rodgers? The run game doesn't translate to cold weather? The pass rush of the 49ers somehow gets stopped in cold weather? Give me a break. Aaron Rodgers is the most arrogant piece of poop in the NFL. And I'm a big naysayer on Baker Mayfield. I actually respect Baker Mayfield as a person more than I respect Aaron Rodgers. He's supposedly supposed to be this bad man, to quote Stephen A. Smith. This bad man literally threw at Richard Sherman twice in an entire game. He threw 39 passes. 2 of them went against Richard Sherman. Is he scared? I get it. One of those passes, Devontae Adams absolutely burnt the crap out of Richard Sherman. You know what Richard Sherman did the next time? He intercepted him. And like I mentioned, of course, we all know the quote now of, "Next time we'll be ready." Again, keep talking, Aaron Rodgers. Every time you open your mouth, you sound like a bigger and bigger and bigger fool. You ain't the bad man like you were 3 years ago. You're getting old. It happens. Ask Brady. How about you take some responsibility? The reason people outside of Packer Nation dislike the Packers so much is this guy. Coming from somebody that lives in the state of Wisconsin that is not a Packer fan, Aaron Rodgers is everything I despise of the Green Bay Packers. This guy has a chip on his shoulder for not being drafted number 1 overall. What has Aaron Rodgers done? What has Aaron Rodgers done? He's won a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl. He's 1-3 in NFC Championship games. He's got his butt whooped in 2 of them. And all 3 losses, he's been downright miserable in. This guy thinks his shit don't stink. He's always got something or someone to blame. Guess what? McCarthy's gone. Can't blame him. Guess what? You've got a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. You know how many teams don't have a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL? 26 of them. I can't believe the arrogance on this guy. Finally, he doesn't have someone to blame. You can blame the defense all you want to blame the defense. Right? He scored 0 points in the first half. 0. It's not like the Niners had the ball for 30 minutes. He had opportunities. In that first half of the game, he had 65 yards and 2 turnovers. It goes without saying he didn't have a touchdown as they got blanked. He did nothing in this game. Don't let the final stats fool you. He did absolutely nothing until the Niners decided to play prevent defense and rotate in backup defensive linemen. I don't think I've seen Solomon Thomas play as many snaps as he has in this game. But don't worry, he'll find a way. Home field advantage. You know what, Aaron Rodgers? If you wanted home field advantage that bad, why the hell didn't you win in San Francisco the game before? Why the hell didn't you beat Philadelphia, a terrible team, at home? He beat nobody this year. He has 2 quality wins. They're against the same team. And don't even give me that Chiefs win as a quality win. Don't even give me that Chiefs win as a quality win. They didn't have Patrick Mahomes, and he still barely won that freaking game. The numbers look great at the end of the game. That game was so similar to Atlanta where he gets all the praise. Everything went on the defense for that championship game against Atlanta. They were down 20 points and had 0 points at halftime of that game against Atlanta as well. I get it. The defense didn't do him any favors, right? But you got to take some blame. That's 2 championship games. 2 championship games where you did nothing. You scored 0, zilch, nada in first halves. I really can't think of a better matchup for the Super Bowl in years. A-Rod's a douche. I lose more respect for Aaron Rodgers as the year goes around. Just as the years go by. He's not done shit in the postseason in years. I love the chip on my shoulder, and I'm going to make the Niners pay. Well, you're 0-2 against the Niners. You're 0-2 against the Niners, and guess what? You haven't looked good in either of those postseason games. Granted, the defense didn't look good either, but they got absolutely steamrolled in both those games. He shit the bed. I mean, that's just, even that game against Seattle, right? Everyone remembers the game against Seattle. Everyone remembers the game against Seattle as the one where, Bostick. I don't even know his first name anymore. Is it Brian? I think it starts with a B. Was it Brian Bostick? It was something Bostick, right? Where obviously he fumbled the onside that led to them losing. What people forget is Aaron Rodgers had 176 yards and 2 interceptions in that game. Brandon. Okay. It was Brandon. I knew it started with a B, right? So Aaron Rodgers would have got an absolute pass for that game if they would have won that game, which, to be fair, they should have won that game. Like, there's no ifs, ands about it. There's not a person on the world or a person on the earth. Maybe the world. I don't know. Galaxy, whatever. If there's aliens out there watching the NFL that believes they should have lost that game. But Aaron Rodgers was atrocious in that game as well. Rodgers is now 36 years old. His birthday's in December, so he's recently 36. He's not going to be getting any younger. And I'm sorry, Packer fans. He's not going to be getting any better. The Packers do have an opt-out on his contract in 2020. If they take it, or if they don't take that, as a 38-year-old, he's going to be owed $40 million. As a 39-year-old, he's going to be owed $38 million. And this is on top of a 37-year-old making $36 million. Yo, Boss Dog, what's going on, man? I hope all is well, dude. I hope all is well, boss. They literally just ran all over the pack. Yeah, I mean, why even attempt to pass in that game? And that's why I'll get into your tweet in a little bit as well, Builder. Oh, there's more on Rodgers. There's more on Rodgers. I'm sick of hearing about how phenomenal of a year this guy had. You're right, Lynx. He's not elite anymore. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's good. I mean, 26 teams probably line up to take him, right? 26 teams probably line up to take him. It's kind of funny because he's legit played 3 good defenses all year. It just so happens that he's played 6 games against them. He's played 2 against the Bears, 2 against the Vikings, 2 against the 49ers. Week 1, Bears, 18 of 30, 203 yards, 1 touchdown. Week 2 against the Vikings, 22 of 34, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 turnover. Didn't play another good defense till week 12 against the 49ers. 20 of 33, 104 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 turnover. Week 15 against the Bears, 16 of 33, 203 yards, and a touchdown. Week 16 against the Vikings, 26 of 40 for 216 yards, no touchdowns and a turnover. And then, of course, we had yesterday, 31 of 39, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 turnovers. 90% of those yards were in garbage time with the team down 4 scores. Let's add those all together, right? Let's add those all together. Don't worry, they're incredibly skewed from that second half of the 49ers game. 21.16 completions to 34.83 attempts. Not terrible, not great. 210 yards per game, 7 touchdowns, and 6 turnovers. But yes, Aaron Rodgers, keep running your mouth that you're not the freaking problem. Good old Brandon Bostic. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, to be honest with you. Yeah, I honestly don't even know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Bostic, right? I think it's Bostic. I mean, don't get me wrong, Aaron Rodgers still threw for 4,000 yards this year, right? No ifs, ands, or buts it. No ifs, ands, or buts it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The man threw for 4,000 yards this year, and he did only throw for 4 interceptions. But as I just mentioned and read off, the games he played against actual decent defenses, Aaron Rodgers made a living beating up absolutely crap teams. The Green Bay Packers were the worst 13-3, worst 13-win football team in the history of the NFL, and they proved exactly why. They barely beat a super banged up Seattle Seahawks team. They got blown out by 22 against San Francisco, who was missing 6 starters that game. You only start a total of 22. They were missing 6 of them, and they still lost by 3 scores. And then, of course, they go out there and get absolutely annihilated. Granted, the Niners were full, I guess, injury-free, full strength, whatever you may call it. But Aaron Rodgers, yeah, again, he had a good year. There's no denying that. But he's good. He's not elite anymore. If he was elite, he would be doing this against the absolutely good teams, right? But he's not. He beat the crap out of bad teams. And again, he threw for 4,002 yards, so it's barely there. Against Philadelphia's trash defense, 422 yards. Against Oakland's phenomenal defense, 429 yards. Against Kansas City's beat-up defense, 300 yards. And then everything else is like 200. He literally had a 429 and a 305 and a 422. Otherwise, everything else, his next highest was Detroit. And we all know the juggernaut of a defense Detroit was, especially in Week 17, where he threw for 323 yards. But if you want to take this a step further, even look at Denver, who's got a pretty solid defense, 235 yards on 29 attempts. I don't get it. I don't get the love affair. What has this guy done? He's basically Drew Brees, but only been in the league for 5 years less. That's what Aaron Rodgers is. He's literally Drew Brees with less time in the NFL to get records. And I don't get why Aaron Rodgers gets passes on everything. Everyone else is judged off Super Bowls, right? Whenever Aaron Rodgers loses a game, it's he didn't have enough weapons. It's the defense is terrible. It's anything that's not Aaron Rodgers. Whenever Aaron Rodgers wins, he's the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. And trust me, Packer fans will love to tell you how excellent this guy is. You know what? He puts up stats. You know who else puts up stats? Kirk Cousins puts up stats. Yeah, he's better than Kirk Cousins. But why don't Vikings go out there and talk about how great Kirk Cousins is? Aaron Rodgers he's won 1 Super Bowl when they had the second best defense in the NFL. He's 1-3 in championship games with 3 absolutely atrocious performances. And he's won 1 Super Bowl. Yeah, he's won MVPs, but what are MVPs worth? We all know Patrick Mahomes should have been. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes didn't win MVP because, it's a popularity contest, right? Even that year, Barry said, and nobody but quarterbacks win it. MVP might be one of the most overrated awards in the NFL. It doesn't take into effect any defensive players. It won't take into effect any running backs. It won't take into effect any wide receivers. I'm 99% certain that next year Michael Thomas could catch 180 passes for 2,200 yards and still not win MVP. Like, it's just impossible for a wide receiver to win MVP. Oh, my throat? My bad. No, you're good. My bad. I appreciate you letting me know that I was too close. I was leaning in to look at something on the computer. That's probably what happened there. But I really, really don't get what the pass is for Aaron Rodgers and why he gets it. I really, really don't understand that. All right, on to the games. Of course, I'm going to start with the Packers-Niners. It's no secret, right? It's no secret. I'm a diehard 49ers fan. Most of you that have come here often know that. Most of you that just know me as a person know how big of a 49ers fan I am. So, of course, we're going to start there. And as I like to do with games, we're going to start with the number 8. And again, you're like, Simons, why are we always starting with numbers? 8 is the number of passes that Jimmy Garoppolo threw in this game. By now, I'm sure most of you know. Most of you watched the game, seen the game, at least seen the box score, right? At least seen the box score at this point. The San Francisco 49ers attempted 8 passes and ran the ball 42 times. Granted, 3 of those times were kneel downs at the end of the game. So you factor that out, they ran the ball technically 39 times. Raheem Mostert. This is going to be known as the Raheem Mostert game, right? 224 touchdowns. This game will go down in the history of the NFL as the Raheem Mostert game. Everyone's going to remember this game for the fact that a man that was cut by 7 teams before he finally got his chance. A man that excelled at special teams so much the 49ers couldn't not keep it. Does that make sense? Couldn't cut him, I guess, instead of couldn't not keep him on the team, I guess we'll go with. He waited for his opportunities. Injuries came. He got his opportunity, and he rolled with it to 220 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's the 8th running back ever, or he's the 8th running back in playoff history to rush for 200 yards. He's the 3rd ever with 4 touchdowns, and he's the 1st ever to do both. Again, this game will go down in history as the Raheem Mostert game. And I've seen it. I've seen the memes. I've seen everything. I've seen everybody. I should say everybody. Everybody's too big of a generalization. Non-49ers fans, 99% of non-49ers fans calling Jimmy G the weak link. I'm sorry. What did you want Kyle Shanahan to do? Average 7 yards per carry, average 6.8 yards per carry as a team, and have Raheem average 7.6 and not just run the ball down the Packers' throats? Did you want him to just go out there and throw the ball 475 times while he's averaging damn near 7 yards per carry? Of course he threw 8 passes. Shanahan's a hell of a coach. This is 2 weeks in a row he gets it. Why do they need to pass more? And why does this show that Jimmy G's a weak link? You know how we could have found out if Jimmy G wasn't a weak link? If the Green Bay Packers defense wouldn't be so terrible that they could stop the run once, I guess, maybe. Maybe just stop it once to force Jimmy G to have to throw. Jimmy G won an absurd hour and 30 minutes of game or of real time before he had, between pass attempt number 6 and pass attempt number 7. And George Kittle, who absolutely owned, he made Zadarius Smith his baby. Didn't catch a pass until 4 minutes to go, 4.5 minutes to go in the game. Think about that. One of the best weapons in the NFL. That's how dominant this performance was by the San Francisco 49ers. One of the best weapons in the NFL didn't even have a target until between the 4 and 5 minute mark of the end of the game. Deebo Samuel only had 3 targets, including an absolute truck of a Packer. That was Deebo Samuel is not exactly a small guy, but he's not exactly a big guy either, right? And he just absolutely trucked. I believe it was Savage. Zadarius Smith loves to run his mouth, loves to pull up his shirt and talk about how he was snubbed from the Pro Bowl. To be fair, he had a great year. Both Smiths had a phenomenal year. There's absolutely not denying it. But you know what you shouldn't do, Smith? You shouldn't be worrying about the damn Pro Bowl. You should be worrying about the team that you're about to face. His head's like, I'm a Pro Bowl snub. Then he goes out there and gets his ass handed to him by a tight end. I get it. George Kittle's not your average tight end. George Kittle is an absolute monster. He might be the best blocking tight end the NFL has ever seen. But Zadarius Smith is going to talk about his Pro Bowl snubs and then come out here. But again, you don't hear anything in the national media about that. Meanwhile, Odell Beckham Jr. takes a trip to get in his own head, and the damn world loses his mind about them losing and getting blown out. But yet there's nothing about Smith talking about his Pro Bowl snub, flipping up his jersey, worrying about Pro Bowls more than he does about winning games. He got absolutely owned by a tight end. Maybe that's why he's not in the Pro Bowl. Maybe they were tired of him beating up on bad teams like the rest of the Packers do. Just pad their stats against the horrible teams and barely squeak out wins or get destroyed by the good teams. That's the Packers season.
Welcome to the team. You're so close to becoming elite, you can almost taste it.
Yo, Bucks at 6. Is that Bucks at 625? Yo, Bucks at 625. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But again, as NFL fans, again, if you're not a Packer fan, you're not going to root for it, right? As a Packer fan, you're not going to root for it. But as NFL fans, we should all come together because this is 2 weeks in a row, which I believe is an NFL record, that a head coach didn't put his head so far up his butt and found a game plan that worked and didn't stray from it. This is 2 weeks in a row that Kyle Shanahan found a team that could not block their run, and he's like, why would I stop? NFL coaches are absolutely known for overthinking, getting in their own heads, trying to get fancy. Yes, Shanahan has that. Shanahan has that looming over his head with the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl. To give Shanahan a little bit of credit, I hope Mushroom Stamped isn't in here as a Falcons fan. Builder, if you're still in here as a Falcons fan, I don't know how you're going to take this. But you know what else could have happened in that Super Bowl? The defense could have got a stop. All right? The defense could have got a stop in that game that they blew a 28-3 lead. But Shanahan has that looming. So as an NFL fan, I think we all got to come together and give a slow clap for a head coach that 2 weeks in a row doesn't get in his own head, finds a game plan that works, and goes for it. You know why else that game plan worked absolutely perfect? Because the Green Bay Packers have two good defensive players. You can tell me Blake Martinez all you want to tell me Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez does nothing except get tackles. Why does Blake Martinez get so many tackles? Because their defensive line is so atrocious they can't stop a running back at the first level. He has to get to the second level. So Blake Martinez has to get tackles or running backs are going to be gone every play. But you know how you neutralize the only two good defensive players that a team has when their only skill set is to rush the passer? The Smiths are incredible at rushing the passer. They're incredible at doing what their job is to do. You know what the Smiths are not good at? Anything but rushing the passer. They're not going to cover anybody. They're not going to stop the run. And you know how you neutralize them? You run it right at them. You let tight ends and tackles. Holy McGlinchey, he has showed up. This dude is an absolute animal. Teams need to look at the way the 49ers constructed their team. I'm talking to you, Cincinnati Bengals. I'm talking to you, New York Giants. Drafting offensive linemen ain't sexy, but you know what drafting offensive linemen does? It helps you win games. Drafting defensive linemen isn't super sexy, but you know what drafted defensive linemen do? They win you games. But you neutralize the two best players on an opposing team by just running it at them and not allowing them to do the one thing that they're good at. How much pressure can the Smiths get if they're only dropping back 8 times? How much pressure can the Smiths get if they're getting absolutely manhandled in a run by a lineman on run blocking when their skill set isn't to get off that block? The Smiths' skill set is not to get off that block. The Smiths' skill set is to get through a block to the quarterback. Don't disagree, but you know where the media will take it if he blows a lead in the Super Bowl. And okay. Now that I was going to get to it after this, but we'll get to it now. So Builder actually had a question on Twitter and asked me, what if Kyle Shanahan blows another lead in the Super Bowl? Not saying he deserves it, just saying I can see it coming. I mean, does Shanahan deserve some of the blame for what happened in Atlanta? Of course he does. And this is what I'm saying. I guess with my Aaron Rodgers, I guess, rant or raid, whatever you want to call it. I'm not saying all of it needs to be on Aaron Rodgers, right? But you gotta give some of the blame to Aaron Rodgers for scoring 0 points and a half. But the defense has to take some blame for giving up 27 points in the first half and 160 rushing yards. But Builder, here's where I think it's going to be different. Again, we're, 24 hours, less than 23 hours into the matchup being set, right? 23 hours into the matchup being set for Kansas City and San Francisco. Kansas City is the 26th ranked rush defense. It's no secret, if you got a quarterback as good as Patrick Mahomes on the other sideline, you want to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. After these last 2 weeks, Builder, I cannot see a scenario where the 49ers are up double digits going against one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL and him not absolutely pounding the rock. And if they blow a lead, I can see the blame be on him, especially from a media perspective. But in my mind, again, 23 hours after the matchup is set, if the San Francisco 49ers blow a lead in this game, or in the Super Bowl, it's not going to be because of Shanahan. And I think he's shown that the last 2 weeks, where he's willing just to run the ball. It won't be due to over-aggression. My fear is with Kansas City being so bad against the rush defense, he's going to come in and be too passive maybe. The last thing you can do against Kansas City is get 3 and outs. Kansas City will score on you in a minute 30. Kansas City will score on you in 2:40. If you get a 3 and out, the avalanche just doesn't stop. And that's the thing with Kansas City. And that's the thing with them spotting 24 points to Houston, spotting 10 points to Tennessee. Patrick Mahomes looked so calm on the sidelines in both those games because he knows when the offense gets going, you can't stop it. The old adage of when it rains, it pours, that's 100% the Kansas City offense. The Niners need to keep their defense. The Niners will need to keep their defense, especially those 4 defensive linemen. They need to keep them energized. They need to keep them healthy. They need to keep them, untired. I don't know what the word is right there. Oh, Erickson, what's going on? Okay. You lost my other info. I had to create a new one. Yo, I appreciate the follow and popping in, man. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts as a Packer fan on the game? I guess. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But the 49ers will need to keep them in the game. And the best way to do that is to win that time of possession. The thing that started happening in Tennessee is for those first 3 drives, everything was going smoothly, right? Tannehill was hitting those slants. Tannehill was hitting those in routes. Henry was running with force, right? Henry was getting 5 yards a pop in that first quarter. And then 3 and outs happened. And then guess what happens? They quickly score. A 3 and out happens. They quickly score. Boom. Just like that, you've given up 14 points in 4 minutes. Then you abandon the run. Then you give up all control. And that's just what Kansas City does to you. And I don't think that's a secret, right? I really don't think that's a secret. But I 100% agree with you. If the 49ers somehow lose a double-digit lead in the second half of the Super Bowl, Kyle's going to get roasted. Whether it's due to him or due to not. You know what I mean? Like even if it's the defense giving up 28 points in the second half after getting like a 14-3 halftime lead, right? And that's the thing, is I fully expect the Niners to come out and control the game in the first half. I think with a game this magnitude, again, Mahomes hasn't been there. I have no reason to doubt that Mahomes isn't going to have a good game. Other than the fact the 49ers just don't give up good games to quarterbacks, right? But the jitters will be on the quarterbacks. And the jitters will be on the young quarterbacks, Garoppolo and Mahomes. But the way the 49ers game plan is going to go, where they're a run-first offense, and the fact that they have such a good defense, I think that's where you can see the Niners getting out to that early lead. The problem is, once you get out to that early lead, can you hold it? And I think the Niners are built perfectly. But I honestly think this is a toss-up. There's a reason this is a 1-point spread in Vegas, right? There's a reason that this will probably be a pick'em game, in my assumption, before the Super Bowl starts. You got your case. You've got your absolute perfect case of best offense against best defense. May the best team win, Both the special teams are roughly the same. Kickers are about the same. Punters are about the same. The Niners have one of the best punt coverages in the NFL, but as far as punt returning, the Chiefs are going to have the advantage there, but it's the special teams is going to be minimal. The Niners have the better running game, the better offensive line, the better defensive line. They have the better linebackers. They have the better secondary, but they don't have Patrick Mahomes. The Niners on paper look like they should dominate this game, but the Chiefs have the better quarterback and the better wide receivers. That's it. If you actually look at it on paper, that's basically what the Chiefs have is better. Otherwise, everything else is minimal, one side or the other. But running game is obviously the 49ers. Offensive line, obviously the 49ers. Defensive line, defense in general at all levels, obviously the 49ers. It is what I expected. Played garbage teams since week 12, barely beat the Skins, scored 15 points against them. Glad they scored more than 7. They knew it was coming with the run and couldn't. So yeah, and that's everybody in the world knew what happened. I think here, let me go through my, I think it was on, let me go through my, I know you guys can't see me right now, but let me check this out. I was talking with another Niner fan the entire time. I said at 6:37, so less than an hour into the game, I told one of my Niner buddies, I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to attempt another pass. That was at 6:37. And then right after that is when Aaron Rodgers fumbled the ball, and I said, need a score here, touchdown going into half, up 24-0, yada yada yada. So before Aaron Rodgers even fumbled that ball, when it was 17-0, I texted my friend and said, I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to attempt another pass. I'm sorry. I'm a nobody. I am a 49ers fan, an NFL fan that hosts a podcast, sports show, and talks sports most of the day, right? If I can find out less than an hour into the game that Jimmy Garoppolo may not attempt another pass in this game, how the hell does somebody getting paid on the Packers defense to coach the Packers defense, the defensive line, the linebackers, the secondary, literally everybody on the defense, how are they getting paid? Because if I could see it as a little old nobody in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, how do these guys not see it and adjust to it? Why did they not put 8 in the box? I very rarely saw 8 in the box. And that just tells you that everyone out there that thinks Jimmy Garoppolo is the weak link, obviously the Packers defense didn't, because they still respected the pass. Hell, even the Kansas City Chiefs put in one of the craziest things I've ever seen, right? This is like Madden level crazy. The Kansas City Chiefs went in goal line defense on Tennessee's 42-yard line. You want to know a team that says, hey, they've got a quarterback that I don't think can beat us? We're going to make them beat us? They went Madden-style goal line defense on the other side of the field. But I agree, Bucks. I mean, I 100% agree. I don't get how they made zero adjustments to stop them. They might not have been able to. I mean, that Niners offensive line is healthy. And with Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle as a fullback tight end combo also blocking, and you've got those 5 really good offensive linemen, and then you mix in probably arguably the best blocking tight end in NFL history with arguably one of the best fullbacks in NFL history. And don't kid yourself, Kyle Juszczyk is better than Mike Allstott. He may not be better than Lorenzo Neal might be better. But Kyle Juszczyk is easily top probably 5 fullbacks. Yeah, he doesn't get the touchdowns because they don't give him the ball because he's too good of a blocker, right? But I mean, when you've got those 7 guys blocking, I mean, it's great. You have to put 8 in the box because those 7 are going to win their 7 2 out of 3 times. And that's exactly what you saw against the Packers. The Packers had zero ability to get off a block. And again, this comes with one of the worst defensive lines in football. If you want to consider the Smiths outside linebackers, which I know the Smiths are slated there as outside linebackers, right? So if that's the case, who the hell's on their defense? You got Kenny Clark, right? But he got absolutely manhandled in this game. And he's about to get paid $15 million, probably $18 million a year to get manhandled by a good offensive line. But again, that's what the Packers did all year. They beat up on terrible teams. They had one of the easier schedules in the NFL, and they absolutely beat up on it. They're the worst 13-win team in the history of the NFL. And their guys are going to get paid off stats this year that are super inflated. I read Bucks in 6 as Buckskin 625. Huh. Bucks in 6, baby. Another big win against the Bulls tonight. However, not lost in this game, right? Not lost in this game was Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, who I know I'm not the biggest fan of. People think he's top 5 running backs in the NFL. I think he might be just outside of that. I'll take Chubb. I'll take Elliott. I'll take McCaffrey. I'll probably take Barkley. Like there's, maybe he is that 5th. Maybe he is that 5th. But he actually had a really solid outing. He had 12 carries for 56 yards. That's a 4.7 yard average. Again, almost all of that came in the second half when the Niners basically just gave up, including his long of 11. Adams had an absolutely monster game. Again, his numbers are skewed by a 65-yard catch, but he had 9 for 138. You take away that 65-yard catch, he only had 8 for 75, which isn't great, right? And again, all of that in the second half. He had 1 catch for 7 yards in the first half. Aaron Rodgers, 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 65 yards at halftime. So all of that came in the second half. But this was much like the first meeting. There isn't really much good to talk about with the Green Bay Packers. Just unfortunately, there isn't much in any game that has this level of dominance. It was the same with the, it was the same. Oh, Chad, you know what I never did? All right, boom, boom. There we go. There I did that. Why didn't you guys tell me? There we go. But much like the Niners-Vikings, any game that's going to have this level of dominance, like, it's hard to find the good in the team that lost, right? It can't be anything on the defense. It can't be Rodgers. So I'm going to find the good in Aaron Jones and Adams just because I can't not destroy a team as much as I've destroyed the Green Bay Packers and not say something good about them, right? But unlike the first meeting, they didn't roll over and die at least. And Bucks, that's kind of what you talked about. At least they scored more than a touchdown this time, right? They did score some points. Again, it was all garbage time halfway through the third quarter. I mean, from the third quarter on, Bosa wasn't even playing all the snaps. Buckner, Armstead. I've never seen Solomon Thomas play so much in the last year and a half. Like, even with injuries, Solomon Thomas was barely in there this year. And he played a decent amount of snaps in this game in the second half. But with this loss, the Packers have now lost 3 straight postseason games to the 49ers, including 2 of those quarterbacked by the team quarterbacked by the quarterback who's got a chip on his shoulder and will make the Niners pay for not drafting him in 2005. And now San Francisco, on top of 3 in a row, has won 4 of the last 5 postseason in an absolute dominant fashion in the last 20 years. Coincidentally, Mozart's 220 yards is a franchise playoff record. He surpassed Colin Kaepernick, who set the franchise playoff record also against the Green Bay Packers. That's a little tidbit. Anybody else got anything more to say on the Packers-Niners before we switch over to Chiefs-Titans? Anybody else got anything to say about the Packers-Niners game? Good, bad, indifferent? Boss, how was your day, though? I never even mentioned, man. I never even asked. I saw you say something up there. I start going on tirades. But how was your day? How was everybody's day? Hopefully everybody's day was phenomenal. Hopefully everybody's weekend was phenomenal as well. Yeah, I hope everyone's weekend was phenomenal. My stream last night kind of cut itself off a little bit, which is kind of weird. Very rare that I have that happen, but yeah, so we called it a pretty early night last night. It's good. All right, perfect. All right, yeah. If nobody's got anything else to say on Kansas City, on Green Bay, San Francisco. We'll move on over to KC, Tennessee. Unfortunately, both these games, as you know, yours surely predicted on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere you may be, both these games are going to be double-digit wins. Both the home teams, I think, were just that much better than the away teams. Obviously, Kansas City only ended up winning by 11. It wasn't as dominant as the 49ers, especially with Tennessee getting out to that lead. But at the same point, Kansas City basically dominated this game from halfway through the second on. They did score a late touchdown with 4 minutes to go. Like 4 minutes to go in the game. Tennessee scored a touchdown to make it that 11-point game. So it wasn't really as close as what the score may have said. But, yeah, it definitely was it was definitely a more competitive game, to say the least. I took off of work and went to the beach. Yo, how was the beach, man? How warm is it by you? So do you drive all the way down to, like, Pensacola then, boss? That's got to be a decent drive, right? It's got to be a pretty decent drive if you're driving down to, like, Pensacola or something like that. I used to have a guy that came and chat all the time. His name's Brick. Really awesome guy. He lives in Pensacola. Yeah, he was a really awesome guy. I haven't talked to him in a very long time. I hope everything's good with him. I really do hope everything's good with him. All right, let's get Titans Chiefs up there. All right. Oh, you left on Friday, so you had a beach weekend then, huh? Nice. So you left Friday, then you went to Pensacola. All right. I kind of like their baseball stadium there. I don't even know what the team's called anymore, but when I was when I lived in Montgomery, Alabama, we used to go down to Pensacola. I mean, that was the closest place to go to the beach and everything like that. I mean, I know Pensacola is a touristy destination, right? But when my parents came down to visit in Daytona, we went down there, and then obviously whenever my wife's family came down, we went down there. I mean, it's not that far of a drive, right? It's not that far of a drive from Birmingham. What is it, like maybe 5 hours? Is it 5.5 hours from Birmingham down to Pensacola? But I like Pensacola. I don't know if it's still the Wahoos, but it used to be back when I lived in Daytona, which again was a while ago now. It was the Pensacola Wahoos. They were a Cincinnati Reds organization. I'm assuming they're still affiliated, but I don't know. I know they're cutting a lot of minor league baseball teams, and we'll do a baseball show here sooner rather than later. We'll do a baseball show here sooner rather than later. But right now, it's dominated by NFL and Championship Sunday. But yep, no one's got anything else on Packers 49ers. Let's 7 hours due to traffic. Okay, that makes sense. Because you're probably hitting Montgomery traffic and you're hitting Birmingham traffic at that point. Yeah, you're probably hitting both. Okay. All right. On to Kansas City, Tennessee. Again, like I mentioned, it was still a pretty dominant performance. However, it was a little less dominant than the 49ers Packers. It was a little more competitive. Yo, Jake, who am I picking to win the Super Bowl? I mean, come on. You know who I'm picking to win the Super Bowl. Bro, you know who I'm picking to win the Super Bowl. The San Francisco 49ers are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-27 in the Super Bowl. I think there's going to be points scored. I don't know how the 49ers are going to stop Mahomes, but I think they might be able to slow him down enough to hold them to like 3 field goals. So yeah, 2 or 3 field goals. So I see the 49ers being able to run the ball and move the ball pretty consistently on Kansas City's defense. I love Shanahan as a play caller, so I'm thinking something like 31-27. 31-28, somewhere in that range. Yeah, baseball cast. I want to hear thoughts about the Astros. Bro, don't even get me started. Maybe we'll talk. It's kind of funny that you mentioned that because there isn't as much to talk about in the NFL, right? Because there's only 2 games. And I don't really like getting into that detail because, as you guys know, I'm a big numbers guy. I'm a big analytics guy. I love diving into that stuff, salary caps, all that stuff. And it's hard to do that like 24 hours into a matchup. So we'll do a Super Bowl preview show for sure. But I am working on some NBA stuff. I'm working on some baseball stuff. I want to But I actually was thinking, and we may still do it, depending on what time it is when we're done talking Tennessee, Kansas City. But we may talk about the Astros, because what's going on in baseball right now is absolutely disgusting. It's heartbreaking, and it's ruining the sport for anybody that's not a diehard, is basically what it's doing. Defense wins championships. I'm hoping so, Jake. This San Francisco 49ers team, again, I'm biased, right? I know I'm biased. But this San Francisco 49ers team is one of the most complete teams I've seen in a very long time. When fully healthy, I think the 49ers are one of the most complete teams in NFL history. I know, I'm biased. You could call me biased. You could call me blah, 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 whatever. But between how absolutely historic their defense is, how incredible their offensive line is, they have weapons in Debo. They have weapons in Kittle. They've got weapons in Sanders. They've got weapons in Juszczyk. The running game that they have. And let's not, everyone wants to fool themselves into thinking Jimmy is not a good quarterback. Jimmy has single-handedly won them 4 games this year, right? Jimmy has 4 performances, and when you take all 4 of those performances, are probably better than Aaron Rodgers' 4 best performances this year. We just went over what Aaron Rodgers did this year. He had a monster game against Philly's terrible defense. He had a monster game against Oakland's terrible defense. And he had a good game against Detroit's terrible defense. Other than that, I don't think he threw for more than 235 yards in a game. Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 400 against a terrible Cardinals team. Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 350 against a terrible Cardinals team. Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 380 and 4 touchdowns against a good Saints team. And Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 300 against the Seahawks. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo's 4 games. Of course, Jimmy Garoppolo turns the ball more over than Aaron Rodgers. But what people forget is Jimmy Garoppolo has literally started less games than Lamar Jackson. Jimmy Garoppolo, even though he's older, is a super inexperienced quarterback. Mahomes has a ton more experience than Jimmy Garoppolo has. Even though you think Mahomes deserves a ring. Bro, Jake, Mahomes is like 20 years old, bro. Mahomes is going to have a chance to win rings for the next decade. If anybody deserves a ring on the Kansas City Chiefs, it's Andy Reid. And that's why I was actually just talking about this with some people this morning, actually. Was it this morning or was it yesterday morning? It was this morning, yeah. Could have been yesterday morning because the games were on. But this morning, and I talked about how I'm so happy that it's the Chiefs that we're playing, even though Tennessee obviously is the easier team and would be the easier win. I mean, I think the Niners would beat Tennessee by 17 if they played them in the Super Bowl. It wouldn't even be close because the Niners have the defense to stop Derrick Henry and make Tannehill beat you, which is exactly what the Chiefs were able to do. And, of course, Ryan Tannehill, we'll get into him later. He's not able to beat you. But I love Andy Reid. If we're going to lose to anybody in a Super Bowl, I'm glad it's going to be Andy Reid. Again, don't think we're going to lose. Definitely could see us losing. As I said, it's a coin flip. And if we are going to lose, I think Andy Reid deserves it. You know how much I love Andy Reid? That man was asked what he did after a win. I don't know if have you guys seen this quote? Have you guys seen this quote when a reporter asked him what he did after the win on Sunday? His response was, "I ate a cheeseburger and went to sleep." That if there isn't a more perfect Andy Reid quote than enjoying a win with a cheeseburger and a night of sleep, I don't know. It's almost like it's so perfect for Andy Reid that it's made up. Oh, it's good. Oh, it's good. Literally was typing that as you were saying it, bro. I honestly, is there, like, it almost sounds too fake, right? It almost sounds too fake because it's so perfect for Andy Reid. I love Andy Reid. That guy, he's a hell of a coach. He gets such a bad rap for not being able to win the big one. Again, he hasn't won the big one. But you know who wins the big one? One person. One head coach wins the big one every year. And unfortunately, for the rest of the NFL, Bill Belichick has been that coach for about 15 years, right? San Francisco 20. You think the Niners are going to be able to limit Mahomes to 17 points? I hope so. If San Francisco, if Kansas City is only able to score 17 points in this game, I think the Niners win by double digits. If Kansas City scores 17 or less, I think the Niners win by double digits. But you guys know my money is going to be on the Niners. And I'm hoping it stays Kansas City as a favorite, so that way you can take the money line instead of the spread, and then you can get a little bit of a, little bit of a boost. A little bit of a boost. You're literally typing that as your, oh my gosh, I love Andy Reid, right? And I really feel bad for that Eagles team, right? No one gives Terrell Owens enough credit. That dude played the Super Bowl in a freaking broken leg. Like, how unfortunate that your best weapon and one of the better weapons in the NFL at that time, I mean, that wasn't Terrell Owens at the end of his, that was Terrell Owens towards the end of his prime, but still in his prime, literally breaks his leg and has to play the Super Bowl on a broken leg. That should have been Andy Reid. That should have, and they still almost won the dang game. That should have been Andy Reid's Super Bowl. But yeah, if anybody on Kansas City deserves that ring, it's him. The only reason I want Kansas City to not win the Super Bowl is those morons still employ Tyreek Hill, who has to be one of the worst human beings out there. But to the game, right? Right, to the game. And I know I mentioned this before. And but at some point, I think it's a game Kansas City's playing. I think Andy Reid scripts the first quarter, just be like, go out there and get destroyed. Let's give them false hope, and then let's go to work. Like, Patrick Mahomes is just sitting on the sideline, all relaxed, cool, calm. Patrick Mahomes is in his second year of starting as an NFL quarterback, right? And this dude's just sitting there all relaxed, down 24 points in a playoff game, down 10 points while his team's getting absolutely manhandled. He's got no care in the world. Tennessee went up 17-7 after a 15-play, dang near 9-minute drive. Middle of the second quarter, towards the later end of the second quarter, and it seemed like they had absolute full control of the game. Derrick Henry was rolling. Tannehill was making throws. The defense was limiting Mahomes. And then Patrick Mahomes was, well, Patrick Mahomes. And showed why he's been the best quarterback in the NFL for the last 2 years. No disrespect to Lamar Jackson. This man should have been MVP again this year. We've already talked about that. But 23 of 35, 294, 3 touchdowns, added in a 53-yard rush, and another touchdown. I need to get a... Excuse me. Whew, my apologies. I need to get a button for this, like with an explosion and fire and everything like that, for a Simon's 11 hot take alert. Here's a hot take. That run that everybody's going gaga over, that 27-yard touchdown run by Patrick Mahomes, it's not as good as people think it is. The rules for the NFL, or the rules for a quarterback in today's NFL, allow a quarterback on every single, and this again, what makes Lamar Jackson so good, is it allows you to fake like you're going out of bounds and then turn up the field. This good run, this great run, was aided by the Tennessee Titans being smart, right? Being smart and not wanting to touch him. You touch an NFL quarterback as he's showing he's going to go out of bounds, it's 15 yards instantaneously. They give up that 15-yard penalty, the Chiefs got the ball first down and goal from like the 6-yard line. And they didn't want that. So what does Mahomes do? He takes advantage of a rule. He takes advantage of the flag football league this is on quarterbacks. He fakes like he's going out of bounds and then turns it back up for a touchdown. That run wasn't as good as people think it was. Was it smart? 100%. 1,000, 1 billion% that run was smart, but it's not as good as people think it is. There's my hot take of the weekend. And no matter, and I know I just mentioned him as a person, right? But no matter what you think of Tyreek Hill, dude is literally unguardable. He's the fastest player. If he's not the fastest player, he's one of the fastest players in the NFL. He's absolutely unguardable. And when you have both him and Sammy Watkins, like they did on Sunday, show up to the game with a quarterback as good as Patrick Mahomes slinging him the ball, you've got problems. And in my opinion, and I was asked this today as well. What I think the 49ers' weakest link is. Because again, I defended Jimmy Garoppolo thinking he's not the weak link and he's able to make the throws. Every team's got a weak spot to them. No team is perfect, right? No team is perfect. The weak link for the San Francisco 49ers is their second corner and Jimmy Ward. Now, don't get me wrong. Both Mosley and Jimmy Ward have played excellent. But if there's somewhere to pick on, it's going to be Tyreek Hill matched up on Mosley. And it's going to be Jimmy Ward having to help guard, potentially help guard Travis Kelce. The secondary for the 49ers is the weak link. They have Sherman, who's still one of the best out there, right? Patrick Sherman's all pro. Patrick Sherman literally doesn't get thrown. Even the bad man himself, Aaron Rodgers, won't throw at Richard Sherman. Two pass attempts against Sherman as we went over. 2 attempts against Sherman in 39 pass attempts. Rodgers was scared to throw the ball at him. And I mean, maybe Mahomes won't be scared. He's a young guy. He probably thinks he can make all the throws. To be fair, Patrick Mahomes probably can make all the throws. But when you have both Watkins and Hill showing up with Mahomes slinging the ball, the San Francisco 49ers secondary, which does get masked by how good that front seven is, that's where the Niners can be exploited. Your bullets. We both died, but karma came back. But came back. I don't know. Where the hell, chat, do I possibly see karma in there? Where do I possibly see karma in there? And a lot of us had questions, right? And I know we discussed it on the last NFL Monday. We discussed, what does this Tennessee offense look like when Derrick Henry isn't able to get going? And you know what? We all thought, well, hell, we'll never find out because Derrick Henry's never going to not be able to go. He's a freight train that can't be stopped. Well, guess what? He got stopped. This matchup, as we discussed with the 49ers, right? With the 49ers, KC has the 26th ranked rush defense. Derrick Henry's coming off 3 straight games with 180-plus yards. Derrick Henry woke up yesterday morning dreaming of a matchup as good as this one. Everything was looking like a dominant performance for Tennessee's rushing attack. They came out, controlled the clock. They came out. Derrick Henry was rolling. Tannehill was game managing it absolutely perfect. Everything was looking like it should. Everything was looking kind of what you thought it was going to look like. I mean, Kansas City wasn't putting up the points, right? But at least on the offensive side, right? Yo, Plague, what's going on? How you doing? Plague, how you doing, buddy? Hopefully all is well. Yo, what's going on, my dude? Hopefully your weekend was well. Dude, good to hear, man. Very, very good to hear. Sorry, I got like something caught in my throat. But instead of Henry rolling, Henry only attempted 19 rushes. Tennessee completely abandoned the run, as we talked about before, because when it rains, it pours, right? When it rains, it absolutely pours. And Henry only ended up with 3.6 yards per carry. But I hear what everybody's saying with Ryan Tannehill. I get it. I 100% get it. Ryan Tannehill did not win Tennessee this game. But you know what Ryan Tannehill didn't do? And you know what Ryan Tannehill did exactly what you expect Ryan Tannehill to do? Ryan Tannehill did not lose this game. Ryan Tannehill is not brought into Tennessee. The change was not made from Marcus Mariota to Ryan Tannehill for Ryan Tannehill to come out and be Aaron Rodgers, be Drew Brees, be Tom Brady, be Peyton Manning. Ryan Tannehill came in to manage a game. You know who Ryan Tannehill came in to be? Ryan Tannehill came in to be Trent Dilfer. You have a good defense. You have a phenomenal running game. You just need a quarterback not to lose you the game. And that's exactly what Tannehill did. Ryan Tannehill ended up 21 of 31 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. It's not a great game. That's not going to win you many games. But you know what that's not going to do? Again, it's not going to lose you a game. What you ask of Ryan Tannehill is to complete some passes, complete some third downs, and not turn the ball over. He did exactly what you expect him to do. However, looking at that final stat line and your eye, it tells you something different. And that's what's great about sports. A numbers guy like me, an analytics guy like me, I can look at numbers, box scores, everything I want, but the eye test tells you something. Ryan Tannehill's not good enough to get you where you need to go. And with saying that, that means their defense isn't quite good enough. The reason Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl by going on one of the most. I'm 99.9% sure that Joe Flacco blacked out for that entire playoff run and just played out of his mind, right? But Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl because he had one of the best defenses ever. The San Francisco 49ers will win the Super Bowl this year with Jimmy Garoppolo being a game manager. Can Jimmy Garoppolo be more than a game manager? I think he's proven he can. Jimmy Garoppolo's also proven he can be one hell of a game manager. But Ryan Tannehill has taken a lot of heat, and I don't know why. What were you expecting out of Tannehill? He's a backup quarterback that actually, what I believe, will be a starting quarterback. But I don't know what people are expecting out of him, and I don't get it. Much like the Lamar Jackson hate, after everyone was waiting for him to have one bad game, I'm pretty sure everyone was just waiting for the Tennessee Titans to lose to blame it on Tannehill, even though he wasn't the problem. It's the same ref from San Francisco last Super Bowl. It's the same. Do you mean it's the same ref that they had in 2013 against the Ravens, Jake? Is that what you're asking, or do you mean it's the same ref as the San Francisco versus the Packer game last night? I guess, what do you mean by that? You seriously put on a hell of a sportscast? Yo, I appreciate that, Builder. Yo, Builder, I really do appreciate that. I put a lot of time into it. I put a lot of effort. What I really need to do is I need to get that hot take thing going. Chat, I'm going to work on that hot take thing for next sports show. I have a whole bunch of stuff, you know what I mean? We've got our sportscast here. We've got our intro, which is pretty cool. We obviously worked on the logo a little bit for those that are new. We do have this little guy where I could show you a website. Hey, look, that's me. And then we've got our
Simon's 11's key to
victory. We've got
Simon's 11's
our lock of the night, which obviously
it's
a little too late to do that. But yeah. Yo, Slick, what's going on? How you doing? But I do appreciate the kind words, Builder. I really do appreciate that. Just chainsawing trees up here? What do you mean by that, Plague? What do you mean by that? Chainsawing trees. Like, you're physically out in the woods chainsawing trees right now? Slick, how's everything going, man? Yeah, versus Ravens? I think it is, Jake. I read something about refs, but I'm not 100% sure what I read. But my guess is if they were saying something about that, it probably had to do with that. Yeah, probably had to do with that. Just chilling, dude. But yo, Slick, I hope doing okay. Work's been crazy today, so I'm just able to catch a stream. Yo, I appreciate that. We've only been live for a little bit. What have we been live for here? Been live for about an hour and 15 minutes. Yo, Lynx, yeah. Again, guys, I do appreciate the kind words. Well, the thing, Jake, I don't think the refs were bad in that Super Bowl. What was bad in that Super Bowl was the play calling for the 49ers. I'm never going to live that down. And I don't get why that Super Bowl for the San Francisco 49ers doesn't get as much media attention as the rest of these, right? Like, you've got the Shanahan, quote-unquote Shanahan, Shanahan blew the game, not the defense or Quinn or anybody like that. It was Shanahan blowing the game. You've got the should have ran the ball with Marshawn Lynch. But the San Francisco 49ers had the ball first and goal with one of the best offensive lines in the history of the NFL, in my opinion. That San Francisco 49ers offensive line in the 2010s, like the mid-2010, like late end to mid, was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You have Frank Gore, who was arguably one of the best running backs in the NFL at that point. And you've got Colin Kaepernick, who was Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson. And you throw the ball 4 straight times? Where's 2 rush attempts for Frank Gore? Like, I don't even get me started on that. How the Niners lost that game is absolutely beyond me. I don't get how people give the 49ers a pass. And as a 49ers fan, I don't give them a pass for that. That's absolutely atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious that they lost that game. But for some reason, the national media lets it go. Yo, Starwolf, thank you for that follow. I appreciate that. Welcome on in. Great sports, tall. And also number 80, and also number... Oh, shit, I'm up to number 66 most watched English-speaking DayZ streamer? Bro, Slick, wasn't I just at, like, the mid-80s? Chat, let's go. That's a round of applause to you guys, chat. Chat, that's not just on me. Chat, that's not just on me. That's on you guys as well. Holy shit, we went from mid-80s to 66? I have terrible eyes. That does say 66, right? Slick always keeps us up to date on that stuff. Slick is amazing. Sounds like a stretch. Oh, no. That's not what I'm doing, Star Wolf. Sorry, my apologies. If anybody's new to the chat, definitely understand. Lamar Jackson's better than Colin Kaepernick, right? Lamar Jackson's definitely better than Colin Kaepernick. There's no doubts about it. But Colin Kaepernick was Lamar Jackson before there was a Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I mean, Kaepernick couldn't throw the ball like Lamar, but, I mean, people tend to forget that Colin Kaepernick is, I mean, he's up there with Mike Vick as one of the best running quarterbacks in NFL history. People just don't like Colin Kaepernick as a person, so they tend to forget how good Colin Kaepernick was for like a 4-year stretch. Like, I get it. He didn't have the greatest career, right? He didn't have the greatest career, but that stretch that Kaepernick went on for those 3-4 years was absolutely incredible. Hell, he ran for $180 and 3 scores? Threw for one, like in the same year against Green Bay, he threw for 350 and ran for 180 in 2 separate games, you know? He's no Adam Vinatieri, bro. Slick, you love yourself some Adam Vinatieri. But yeah, don't get me wrong, Star Wolf. I'm 100% not saying Kaepernick's better than Jackson. But Colin Kaepernick was the running quarterback before Lamar Jackson. Everyone just bypasses him because they just don't like his stance politically. Which I get. I mean, to each their own, but to forget that his 4-year stretch doesn't exist is, you know, an astronomical displeasure to the NFL. You had some trees falling here? Oh, shit, Plague. Is everything good with, like, the house and cars and everything? Was it just falling on the lines? Hopefully everything was good and it didn't, like, power and internet. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, dude. Kaepernick having one good year? Nah, Kaepernick had about... I mean, Kaepernick went to, what, 3 straight NFC Championship games? And it was a while ago. Yeah, it was a while ago. 100%. Kaepernick did have a bad record his last year, 100%. Kaepernick also threw for 60 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Again, we don't have to debate Colin Kaepernick because we know he didn't have that great of a year. Yeah, but Joe Flacco also had one of the best 4-game stretches. Let's see if I can look this up here. I want to look up Ravens Super Bowl. Here, why don't we just look up Joe Flacco's stats? Unless I'm completely misremembering, didn't Joe Flacco have like one of the best postseason runs in like NFL history? Here you go. Let's see here. Game logs that was 2013, right? If I remember correctly. Was that 2013? That's 2013 regular season. I need postseason. There we go. Oh, it was 2012. My apologies, Chad. Yeah, 2013 was the year that Richard Sherman blocked it. So 2012 was the year the Niners made that, right? Joe Flacco had 11 touchdowns, no interceptions, and averaged about 280 yards per game with a completion percentage of 57%. I'm a Broncos fan, so I don't have much. No, and don't get me. It's funny, Star, because we were literally just talking about Joe Flacco and how Trent Dilfer and I put Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco in the same, which is doing a complete disservice to Joe Flacco. Because Joe Flacco literally went on one of the best 4-game postseason stretches we've seen in a while. I mean, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then if you actually go the next year, right? 12 sounds right to you? Yeah. And then if you go to the next year, Joe Flacco in 2 games, Joe Flacco had a 62.17% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, with a QB rating of 103.1 in their 2 games against Pittsburgh and New England, and that's the year they barely lost to New England. I mean, Joe Flacco, for the last 2 years that he's been in the postseason, and actually the postseason before that when they lost to New England by 3 in that was 2012. 2013 was the Super Bowl year. It was 2013. I'm sorry. It was technically the 12-13 year, right? Because the NFL split between years. But even the year before that, he had 4 touchdowns, 1 interception in the 2 games, and he averaged 260 yards with a completion percentage of 58%. Like, Joe Flacco's actually... You know what? We're going down a rabbit hole, and I absolutely love it. Trent Dilfer stats. Let's see what Trent Dilfer did, because that year was like the absolute words pro record. All right, Chad, we got to be honest here, right? We got to be honest here. This might be the first time Trent Dilfer has ever been searched on Pro Football Reference. Right? This might be the first year he's ever been. All right. What year was that? You want to know what Trent Dilfer? Here we go. Joe, the only thing allowed me is a Nike side. No, and Joe Flacco's not a great quarterback. We know that, right? Everything's back up. I just got a yard full of trees. They turned off the power to let us get them down. Fix them. Okay. That's good that there's no damage or anything, right? That's good. Oh, you want to see these stats as well? Sorry. All right. Let's switch on over. Look at this run that Trent Dilfer went on. 9 of 14 for 139 yards. 5 of 16 for 117 yards. A completion percentage of 31%. 9 of 18 for 190 yards, a touchdown. 50% completion. And in the Super Bowl, Trent Dilfer went 12 of 25 for 153 yards and a touchdown. So now Trent Dilfer did literally nothing to win any of the playoff games. Reminds me of Peyton Manning. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. That is basically Peyton Manning's. Yeah. That is Trent Dilfer. Look at Trent Dilfer made the postseason one other time in his life in 1997. And he had 24 of 62 for 381 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in 2 combined games. Poor Trent Dilfer. But you know what Trent Dilfer does have, chat? Trent Dilfer's got a Super Bowl ring. So Joe Flacco basically won the Super Bowl for the Baltimore Ravens. Trent Dilfer participated in the Super Bowl. I mean, you got to give him some credit, right? You got to give Trent Dilfer, or you got to give Joe Flacco some. And I believe what was the here? Let me go back here. What was in 2013? Yeah, 34-31 in that Super Bowl. Joe Flacco went for 287, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions against an absolutely great Niners defense that had Bowman and Willis and all those guys. Holy shit, that defense was crazy for the Ravens. Yeah, the 2000 Ravens defense is, I mean, it's always mentioned with the 85 Bears as the 2 best defenses in NFL history. Yeah, those 2 defenses are. But the Niners have a chance to match that. If the Niners come out and they shut down Kansas City and they're able to shut down the Vikings, I mean, the Niners defense isn't going to be as good as those Ravens defense. That Ravens defense was, that was Ed Reed, Ray Lewis. Was Woodson on that team? I mean, their defense, Suggs was on. That defense was insane. How are you not going to put the 15 Broncos in that? Hey, man, I don't talk about that. I'm not the national media. As much as I wish I was the national media mentions the 85 Bears and the 2000. The 15 Broncos was the 15 Broncos was pretty insane as well. I mean, were they as good as I honestly, I wasn't alive to see the 85 Bears, right? I wasn't alive to see the 85 Bears, so I can't really say anything about that, but I'm definitely old enough to know how good that 2000 Ravens team was. I remember watching that Super Bowl just being like, holy shit. Them and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl, they could have given everybody on the defense the Super Bowl MVP. That's good. Back in 1997, the house I owned was hit in a straight-line windstorm. Had 5 trees come down on my house, and the garage was the one to take the brunt of the damage. Only have 14-inch hole in the roof. The garage was pretty much leveled and destroyed. A 67. Oh shit, Slick. I'm assuming. I'm hoping you had insurance on all of the above, correct? Man, 85 Bears D was the best. Yeah, I'm just not old enough to remember them. Like, I'm old enough to know the stats and everything like that. I'm not old enough to remember them. But that Ravens defense, that 2000 Ravens defense was holy shit. Yeah, here. The Peyton Manning in the 2015-16 Super Bowl. I know it's technically the 2015 year, but the Super Bowl happens in 16. Completion percentage of roughly about 56%. Averaged roughly 175 yards and had 2 touchdowns the entire postseason. Yeah. I mean, that's having the Bears defense. That right there is having the defense carry you. That's 100% for sure. Yeah, again, I don't hear. Let's 2000. Man, you guys have me down a wormhole, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love this wormhole that you guys are letting me. All right, here we go. We got the 2000. The 2015 19 Broncos defense. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's take 141 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception in the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's basically what Trent Dilfer did. All right, let's take a look here. The 2000 Baltimore Ravens had there you go. The Ravens defense, right? The Ravens opponent stats. Look at that. The opponents literally had 16 total touchdowns, 11 passing, 5 rushing. They had 16 touchdowns and 23 interceptions. The average drive was 4.9 yards per play. Or the average drive was 4.9 plays with an average of 20.4 yards per drive. They gave up 2.7 yards per carry. Think about that. They gave up a total of 16 touchdowns, 5 rushing, 11 passing, and had 23 interceptions. Now let's go to the Broncos here. They gave up a total of 29 touchdowns and had 14 interceptions. Plays were 5.3 with the yards at 22.5. The defense, don't get me wrong, those are incredible numbers, but that 2000 Ravens, think about that. They had more just interceptions, not even turnovers in general, than touchdowns given up. They had, 7? Is that 7? 6 more. Fake news? Numbers don't tell you everything, but, I was alive enough to see both of them, and that 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense, again, the best I've ever seen, right? Oh, here, it actually gives the total turnovers. Does it give the actual, here, 2? Well, it doesn't give you the total? Come on. It seriously doesn't even give you the total? All right. 2, 4, 6, 9, 11, 13, 14, 17, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 28 total turnovers and 16 total touchdowns. They had 12 more turnovers than touchdowns allowed. Oh, wait, never mind. That was their offense. Let's go to the defense. I'm sorry. They had 5. Look at this. The conference champ. Look at this. Look at what they did. Look at what they did in the playoffs. In the Super Bowl, they forced 5 turnovers. In the conference championship game, they forced 5 turnovers. And then they forced 1. In just the 4 playoff games, the 2000 Baltimore Ravens forced 12 turnovers. But let's take a look at that. Holy shit. 6, 10, 15, 18, 21, 23, 4, 5, 7, 29, 39, 44, 44, and 49. They forced 49 turnovers in just the regular season that year and only gave up 16 touchdowns. That can't be right. There's no way that's right. How is that possibly right? That's rookie numbers. Oh, man. But don't get me wrong. The Denver Broncos defense is incredible. And you're right. It's a different league, right? It's a passing league in 2015. It wasn't exactly a passing league. But the yardage is about the same, The yardage is definitely about the same. 85 is a lot different, I think, 85 than 2000 to compare that. Did their quarterback have a neck? Did whose quarterback have a neck? The Ravens? Trent Dilfer? I don't know. I don't even know what Trent Dilfer looked like back then. He was a young little whippersnapper back in 2000. Trent Dilfer was definitely a young little whippersnapper back in 2000. As for this year, though, painting him, yeah, he did. He had a robot neck, Starwolf. He went overseas and got himself a robot neck. Remember when the Colts won that Super Bowl? Not sure if it warranted a brand new stadium because of it. Yo, Slick, I'm sorry. I'm just seeing that now. Go Colts, Blake says. They charge the taxes they charge to pay for it. What did your taxes go up, Slick? Here in Milwaukee, we've got the Miller Park tax, but it went up like 0.5%. It's basically nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's basically. Yeah, you guys got rid of him, Slick, because, yeah, he had no neck and needed to go over to Europe and get it fixed. But this year coming, I mean, to finish up on this year, I mean, Kansas City actually started the season. Kansas City started the season as Super Bowl favorites. They're now 1-point Super Bowl favorites, so it's kind of come full circle. And they have a chance to fulfill Vegas's thoughts. And one thing Vegas doesn't do is get a lot of stuff wrong, right? And do we have any Tennessee fans in chat? I'm not sure if we have any regulars that are Tennessee fans. We have a lot of the NFL covered, but I'm not sure about Tennessee. If you're a Tennessee fan, do you consider this a good season? Every fan base should want a Super Bowl, especially if you get, but coming into the year, if you're a Tennessee Titans fan, right, you're probably not expecting a Super Bowl win. Coming in as a San Francisco 49ers fan, I wasn't expecting a Super Bowl win. I was literally expecting 9 wins with a high of maybe 11, right? With maybe a high of 11. Your family's the Titans? Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Do you consider this a good season? Tennessee found out a lot, right? Ryan Tannehill went to the AFC Championship. That's good for him, because guess who's up for a contract star? Ryan Tannehill. Is he going to go out there and get paid $35 million a year? Absolutely not. But Ryan Tannehill proved he could game manage with a good defense and Derrick Henry. You know what game managers are worth in the NFL these days? $20 to $25 million. Ryan Tannehill made himself a lot of money the second half of this season by just being a game manager. But that's the going rate for quarterbacks in the NFL, right? That's the going rate for the NFL. Quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks are making $12 million a year now. Ryan Tannehill easily made himself $20 to $25 million a year. At the very, very low end, he might get 18. But good quarterbacks are going for about 30. Elite quarterbacks are going for about 40. Sorry, Kansas City Chiefs. You actually better win the Super Bowl this year, because Patrick Mahomes is about to get paid $42 million a year soon. You have one good year. Look at Dak Prescott demanding $35 million. Will he get it? Nobody knows. My guess is Dallas goes in. Jared Goff getting $35 million. Wentz getting $35 million. Aaron Rodgers is about to make $40 million at the age of 38. That's just the way quarterbacks go. So Ryan Tannehill made him a lot of money. Made himself a lot of money. But you know what? Point number one for what Tennessee found out. Marcus Mariota is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. And Ryan Tannehill could be good for the game plan that they run. As long as Tennessee keeps the same game plan, they keep that defense together, they keep Derrick Henry, they keep the offensive line, Tennessee found out that, 1, they're going to be division favorites next year. 2, they have a really good game plan, and I believe a very good coach. And they're just as good as, in my opinion, they're just as good as the rest of the AFC. You've probably got Baltimore and Kansas City up a tier from them, and I get they went into Baltimore, beat Baltimore. They play that game 100 times, Baltimore wins that game 95. It's just the way it is, right? If they play that game in Baltimore 100 times, Baltimore's going to win that game 95. It's the thing about playoffs. Anything goes. When it's one game, literally anything goes. But they found out Mariota's not a starting quarterback. Ryan Tannehill can be their quarterback. They're going to be favorites to win the division next year. But what can they do if they don't want Ryan Tannehill, right? 18 mil is what Osweiler got from the Texans, and then they traded away picks just to dump that idiot. Oh, for sure. Everybody in the NFL wanted to give Osweiler money. Everybody wants that guy. Everybody wanted that guy because he was so tall. That's all they cared about. The guy was a terrible quarterback, but he was tall. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, he's 6'7". He could pass. I'm like, no. Actually, he can't. Indianapolis, man, I can't even read. I need to get my eye surgery, chat. I really need to get this eye surgery done. Only 2 more months, chat. 2 more months until I schedule the appointment. Indianapolis has the 5th worst leisure tax rates in the country on food, hotels, cons. What is your sales tax? Lynx, you're up to 9th. I think Boss had, yeah, there you go. Boss is up to 3rd. I wonder who's ahead of Boss. Is it Bovin, or did Bovin lose all this money? That game, we beat the Patriots with, I swear, in the regular season still brings me. To be fair, Denver did also win a game with Tim Tebow, who's, in my mind, literally one of the worst quarterbacks in NFL history. But again, the New York Jets went to what? 3 straight AFC Championship games with butt fumble at quarterback. C.J. Anderson. Oh, jeez. I mean, the butt fumble did get the 3 straight AFC Championships. You think a team will ever get home field in the Super Bowl? I think you will. I think you'll see it. Because what's going to happen, I mean, here, and I know I've talked about this a lot. I've done some hot takes and stuff on it like that too. The Los Angeles Chargers are not far away from making the Super Bowl. I mean, if they're going to be in Los Angeles, I don't know. Nobody wants them. LA doesn't want them. Obviously, Vegas isn't going to take them now that they've got the Raiders. I mean, San Diego doesn't want them back. So, I mean, the Chargers really don't have a home because nobody wants them. I assume they'll still end up in LA, right? I assume they'll still end up in LA. But, I mean, if LA is going to host the Super Bowl, especially, LA is going to host the Super Bowl, and I can see the Chargers getting there. I mean, it's the Dolphins. I mean, who knows? Maybe a decade down the road, the Dolphins will be better. Maybe they'll finally get some draft picks right. Miami hosts the Super Bowl a lot. I don't know. Dallas, there's always that opportunity. I mean, Dallas does have talent. I mean, Dallas is probably a head coach away from competing as well. I mean, they have one of the more talented rosters on paper, especially if they re-sign Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott. Like, I get it. Dak's not the best quarterback. He's not worth $35 million. That's the going rate for good quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, people want to complain about it all they want. That's what Wentz got. That's what Goff got. I mean, Aaron Rodgers got 38 to 40 million for a 3-year stretch. Jimmy G's at 27 million per year. Like, it's the rate, right? You hit the market at the right time, and it's only going to get worse. The NFL salary cap in 2 years is going to skyrocket up to like $290 million. Do you know what type of you're going to have wide receivers getting $25 million a year? It's going to be like the NBA was a couple years ago when all of a sudden the salary cap just absolutely boomed. And you're seeing guys like Chandler Parsons and these type of guys getting absolutely ridiculous contracts, right? All these guys are getting overpaid, and they're all overpaid now because it just skyrocketed. And then it's going to take, and then what happens is when that skyrockets, you have all this excess money to spend. And this is what's going to happen to the NFL in about 2 years. Teams are going to have all this excess money, access. Is that the right word? I don't know. I'm not great at the English language. But they're going to have all this money to spend. And they're going to spend it stupidly. You're going to get wide receivers that are going to get paid $25 million. You're going to get running backs get paid $25 million. Because teams have all this money to spend. But you know what that does? Is that means, like, okay, so it's not going to happen, right? But let's just throw out a big name. AJ Green, right, is going to get a contract. He's going to get, like, again, it's all fictitious, right? He's going to get $25 million a year. Well, then Michael Thomas's contract's going to be up, and he's going to want 30 because he's that much better. It was Sam Bradford, Star. It was Sam Bradford. They gave $40 million guaranteed before he even stepped on the field, and that's when the NFL changed it because rookie quarterbacks were making more money than like Brady and Manning and all these guys. Yeah, it wasn't Stafford, it was Bradford. Yeah, he got $40 million guaranteed before he even stepped on the field as a rookie. I mean, the first 2 overall picks in NFL drafts were absolutely ridiculous. The amount of money they were making was so much more than vets that the Players Association was like, hold the phone. Imagine being the guy who forced the whole system to change. That's how bad you. Well, no, and it wasn't just how bad he was. I mean, don't get me wrong. That actually goes into fact because when you're paying a guy $40 million guaranteed and he turns out to be absolute garbage with the first overall pick, yeah, that's a problem. But at the same point, you have guys like Brady and Manning that are like, hold the phone. Like, why are these dudes getting paid just as much, if not more than us, before they even step on the field? We've got MVPs and Super Bowls, right? So it was going to change regardless if he was good or bad. But yeah, him being absolutely atrocious did not help the case. Absolutely did not help the case. On travel services and items. Wait, there's a 17%. What do you mean by travel services? Like you take a cruise out of Indiana? What do you mean by travel services? But I mean, it is possible for somebody to get home field in the Super Bowl. Likely, probably not, but it's definitely possible. I think it could happen. I mean, San Francisco will probably get Super Bowls too, whether their team's good enough, for the next 5 years or so. The Niners are going to have decisions to make this offseason. The problem with the 49ers is they're super against the cap for next year, but then they get so much cap relief the following year. But the problem is they've got guys that they need to sign this offseason. They might have to let Arik Armstead go, he's probably their third best defensive lineman, to be honest. I mean, Bosa's better than he is, and I would probably say Buckner's better than he is as well. But Arik Armstead is a phenomenal defensive lineman, but they might have to let him go. They're going to have plenty of money, absolute plenty of money to sign him the following year. But the problem is they got to sign him this year. So, I mean, there's going to be the continued, success is hard, right? The thing for the Niners is they got a quarterback who's on a pretty decent, when you're making 27.5 a year and everybody else is making 35, that's basically an equal quarterback to you are, and you're saving $10 million that way. $10 million goes a long, long, long ways in the NFL. Statistically, it'll happen. Yeah, eventually somebody's gonna get home field advantage in a Super Bowl. It's gonna happen. Just because there's going to be a warm weather team. It's going to happen. Will it be the Packers or the Patriots or anything like that? Absolutely not. But, eventually an LA team or Dallas or Miami or Tampa or wherever it may be, eventually one of these teams will end up getting it. They'll still have that mustard. They'll still have that mustard guy. What do you mean? They'll still have that mustard guy. What do you mean by that? I think I might have missed when you typed that in what I said. Oh, Mostert. Raheem Mostert. Yeah. The mustard guy. Raheem Mostert, yeah. Yeah, he may. Talk about a hell of a story. Getting cut by 7 teams. Next thing you know, you're setting records for a franchise that's been in that many playoff games, and you're setting, 8th player in the history to do this, 3rd player in the history to do that, 1st player in the history to do this. Falcons have 2 potential big free agency losses this year. And I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Now that you mentioned it, you guys know how much I love analytics, right? You guys know how much I love this stuff. Let's go to. Let me get to my site. Spotrac. Spotrac is what I use, chat. I use Spotrac. All right, so the Atlanta Falcons, man, you've got a $20 million. Matt Ryan at $24 million is such a. That is absolutely such a luxury right now. He should be up around like 35, but you're paying $20 million to a wide receiver. I don't care how good that wide receiver is. You're paying $20 million to a wide receiver. And you're paying $9.5 to a running back that really isn't that good. How much did Austin Hooper make this year? Am I just missing him? He's got to make more than this. Oh, is this already set for next year? Oh, I'm sorry. This is already set for next year. My apologies. That's why. Oh, right here. Okay, I thought this was this year already, so that's my bad. That's my bad. I thought. Okay. Yeah, I'd have to look at 2019. I was looking for Hooper, but he's not going to be on here because obviously he's not on the team. He's free. So they're calculating his market value at 10. Falcons haven't been good at all since the first half of that Super Bowl. The thing with the Falcons is their offense is always there. They just don't have a defense, and they have an incompetent coach who somehow keeps his job all the time. Well, Deion Jones is actually still under contract. Builder. Deion Jones next year is under contract for $10.3 million. So did they re-sign him already? Did they give him a... Yeah, they already re-signed him. Deion Jones, the linebacker? According to this, they re-signed him, and he's not a free agent until 2024. They gave him an extension. Yeah, I'm not sure. But they gave him 4 years, $57 million with $11 million signing bonus. $34 million guaranteed. It kicks in this year. Yeah, it kicks in this year where the salary goes up. So yeah, his cap hit goes from $5 million off his rookie deal, it goes up to 10, 12, 14, and 16. Hashtag bring back Bobby Petrino. No. I'm not. That is a relief. Yeah. So there you go. That's one off the books. But so they're predicting Hooper to get $10 million. That's the calculated market value. If you guys love salary cap, you guys like numbers and stuff like that. I mean, use this spot. I call it Spotrack. It's probably Spot Rack, but I call it Spotrack because I think it's cooler. Whatever it may be, I love using this. This isn't going to give you in depth, and it's not going to give you everything that you need, right? It's not going to give you, all of that, right? But it's very basic. Holy shit! Look at the dead cap on Julio and Matt Ryan. You can't get rid of those contracts to save anything. Holy shit! Look at the dead cap on those two. But I mean, when you get Matt Ryan at 24, but here, yeah. So for 2020, let's go all the way down. I mean, they've got a lot of guys on the roster, though, right? So who is this? Matt Schaub is actually on a club option, so they can get rid of them, right? So that's gonna. There's no way they keep. Well, maybe they do keep Matt as a backup. What do you think, Builder? Hashtag bring back Bobby Petrino star. Oh no. Yo, Enzyme, what's going on? Yo, Shane, what's going on? How'd you guys' nights go? What is that? Bear down? Get out of here. He's still in the league. Matt Schaub is still in the league, everybody. For everybody wondering what Matt Schaub's up to, he's still in the league making $2.4 million for the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody is wondering what's going on with that guy. How old is Matt Schaub? 38, baby. Been in the league 16 years. Let's go. Not even kidding. Yeah, I mean, I knew he was in the league. I forgot he was with the Falcons. Okay, so you figure they're going to keep. You think they're going to take that club option of 2 point. So you think they're going to keep that club option of 2.4 as a backup quarterback, right? I mean, that's about as inexpensive as you're going to get. How the hell does this happen? How does this guy have a $2.3 million? They must have extended him. That his dead cap is $7 million with only 2 as a cap hit. They must have extended him already. Yep, you have to keep Schaub. Okay, so everything stayed. But look at this. How many players do they have? Holy shit. Their dead cap is... Oh, shit, they got a dead cap of 2.5 for a guy and Sanu of 1.4. That's what people don't realize. When you trade people, like that dead cap still can hit. Right? So they traded Sanu. He's not on their team, but they still got a 1.4 dead cap of him. That's counting against next year. They're basically paid $1.4 million to get rid of Sanu. So they actually gained $5 million of rollover cap, right? So the adjusted salary cap is $204 million. Contracts, top 51 contracts, dead money. So they have about $10.7 million to spend, Builder, right? So you figure if Hooper's supposed to get $10 million, like they say, which obviously I think Hooper's going to get about 12. I really do think Hooper's going to get about 12. So with that, they can't even afford Hooper at this point. Because they've got $10 million, but at the same point, I wish it would tell you how many people they have. I wish it would calculate how many people they have signed. But, I mean, to be fair, their team wasn't great this year, but, I mean, look at all these people that are signed, right, that are technically on the roster for 2020. So they don't have a ton. I mean, they need upgrades, but there's nowhere to clear cap, right? So here's where you could clear cap. You got to look for, I guess, maybe a little salary cap lesson, I guess, is you got to look for that dead money not to be much, right? So you got guys like Neal who have no dead money. You can get rid of him and not have to pay. You've got you've got Alan Bailey, dead cap of 1.5. Yeah, you don't really want that. But if you can somehow get that off, they have already said they will restructure Ryan. I mean, how much less is he going to take? He's only making $24 million. Matt Ryan's market value has to be around like 32. They're going to restructure him to take less than a $24 million cap hit? Dang. Okay. I mean, they don't really have anybody that they can get rid of. I mean, look at their dead caps on these guys. There's nothing they can really do. The Falcons aren't in great position, Builder. Convert the bonus? Yeah. I mean, that's the only way you can do it, right? I mean, to be fair, the Falcons aren't really in a great spot here. Don't get me wrong, it's not as bad as like the Vikings. It's not as bad as the Vikings or the Rams, but it's not great. I mean, taking a look at this, it's not great because they obviously need to do something with the roster. They weren't that great this year with the roster they have. Granted, their roster's basically intact for next year, but, minus whatever. But, I mean, do they let Hooper go and then maybe take a tight end with that 16th pick? The problem is with a team like this that's in this much salary cap dilemma, you can't miss on this. You can't miss on the 16th overall pick because you need that cheap player. I mean, I honestly don't see how they re-sign Hooper. How do they re-sign Hooper at this point? I don't know where the money comes from. Big Daddy Blank going to be writing some big bonus checks. They're going to take another quarterback. I mean, at some point you have to hit, right? That's basically what the Green Bay Packers did. The Green Bay Packers are like, we're just going to keep drafting secondary. Eventually we have to hit on one. Because, to be honest, their drafting secondary is absolutely atrocious. And that's what the Niners did. The Niners are like, we're just going to keep drafting defensive linemen. Eventually we have to hit on one. Well, it turns out they hit on freaking 4 of them, right? Turns out they hit on 4 of them. The only problem is they missed on Solomon Thomas, who was the 3rd overall pick of a draft. So, yeah. But that wasn't all for none because they got the Trubisky picks for it. So, which I get, Shane. Didn't really work out well for the Niners, but at the same point, you know, it works out. So, yeah, I mean, the Falcons aren't in the greatest spot. They obviously need to free up money, but the Niners are in the same spot, though, right? We'll hear. The Niners will have about $100 million, right? Because what is it here? We're looking at the salary cap being about $204 million. But then if you go to 2021, the estimated salary cap jumps all the way up to 219. And if you go to 2022, which this is the big one, I believe. Yeah, goes up to 252 million. So in 2 years, because there's going to be a new CBA, so the salary cap's going to go up. So in about 2 years, the salary cap's going to go up about 60 million. And that's where I said, in 2 years, teams are going to have so much damn money that they have no idea what to do with it, that people are just going to get the most ridiculous contracts you've ever seen in your life. They did get Jarrett re-signed. Yep. But I see Packer fans all over the place talking about we need to do this. I mean, Packer fans want Cooper. They want Hooper. They want all of these guys. When if you take a look at Green Bay, next year, absolutely perfect. Rodgers hits for 21. Adams, I mean, I can't imagine spending that much on a wide receiver, but I digress. So, I mean, next year, they've got cap, right? They've got $30 million. They've got Rodgers on a low-end deal. They've got a lot of guys signed. The Packers could do a lot in 2020. But the problem is, as a general manager, which I'm sure I'm not breaking any news here, you can't just look at 1 year. Because guess what? Here. They have Blaga, Jones, and Martinez, and they have $29 million. With those 3 guys, my guess is they let Martinez walk, my guess they let Aaron Jones walk, and my guess they re-sign Blaga. Let's say they re-sign Blaga for $10 million, right? They now have $19 million, but they don't have a running back, and they don't have a starting middle linebacker that they have to do with $19 million. So it's the Packers are fine. I don't think they even have any club options to get out of it. No, the Packers are fine, but the problem is you look at 2021. Now all of a sudden Rodgers jumps from 21 to 36. Smith jumps to 20 million. Preston Smith jumps to 16 million. Now you've got 95 million, right? You've got 95 million, but you have nobody on your roster. Look at that. You have Jair Alexander, who's not even good, and Savage still there. Josh Jackson, who's absolutely atrocious, but you have secondary pieces that you need to sign that are done with their rookie deals. You literally have Billy Turner at guard. You'll have Balaga after you re-sign him, but like you have no offensive linemen. You have no defensive linemen. You've got 2 defensive ends. You've got no middle linebacker. You've got both your safeties, and you've got 1 corner. You need to sign another corner. Your linebacker, I mean, the Packers, they can't go out and spend a ton this year because then they have no money to do anything in 2021. And then if that doesn't hurt anymore, then you jump to 2022, and guess what? Oh, now Rodgers is up to $40 million. And there's no Devontae Adams in there. You have all that salary cap, but look at their 2022. Like, and that's kind of what fans have to realize is, yeah, you may have this money to sign them this year, but that doesn't mean you have the money to sign them next year. And that could hamper what you do. So unless you're going for it all in 1 year, like, it makes no sense. And that's where they have to restructure Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers actually has an opt-out, I believe, in 2022. Will I see it in 23, is it? Is the club option? Yeah, if you actually look at 2023, they literally only have 1 player signed. I mean, that's not unusual, though. But, I mean, that's 4 years down the road. So, I mean, the Packers are in phenomenal shape next year. I mean, they do have, they have to make some decisions on Blake Martinez and Aaron Jones. No way are they going to re-sign Aaron Jones. They can't afford to, and I'm guessing they let Blake Martinez go. I mean, the Falcons have some defensive pieces, right? The Falcons do have some defensive pieces. The only problem, though, is the Falcons don't have enough. And it's the same with the Packers. The Packers have the Smith brothers. Arguably, I don't even know if it's arguably the best pass rushing duo in the NFL. But the problem is that's all they have. Everyone wants to talk about Savage and how he's this and how he's that. Savage isn't good. Savage got absolutely trucked by Samuel. That was amazing. But, Aaron Jones is going to get a relatively fat contract and never be good again. That's what I mean. There's no way the Packers can afford to pay a running back $15 million when you're paying a wide receiver $16 million and you're paying Adams goes up to $18 million. I'm sorry. Adams goes up to $8. You'll be paying a running back $15, a quarterback $40, and a running back and a wide receiver $18 million while you're paying your two pass rushers a total of $36. You can't do it. That's what the Rams did. That's literally what the Rams did. They spent a ton of money on Goff. They spent an absolute atrocious of money on a wide receiver in Cooks. They went out and paid a running back. And they have an elite pass rusher they paid. Guess what? They might as well just light their team on fire and start over as a brand new franchise. Talib is gone now. Oh, no, they got rid of Peters, sorry. But I think they have an opt-out of Talib. I think they do have an opt-out of Talib. Here, the only problem with the Los Angeles Rams, this is so sad to look at. Goff is making 36, Donald's making 25, Gurley's making 17, Cooks is making 16. They have 4 guys, right? They literally have, and then you got to throw in, they've got another wide receiver making $9 million and a tight end making $8 million. I mean, it's insane. It's literally insane, but think about that. What is that? 17, that's 29.4. 29, 37.7. 45. Roughly 46% of their salary cap for next year is between a below average quarterback, a terrible running back, a terrible wide receiver, and a really good pass rusher. Think about that. 46% of their salary cap is Jared Goff, Aaron Donald, Todd Gurley, Brandon Cooks. That's why you can't do these contracts. They might as well just burn everything. And they're paying Higbee. They're paying Tyler Higbee $8 million, and they're paying Woods. So you factor that in. You're 2 wide receivers, a running back, a quarterback, and a tight end. You are literally looking at 57% of your salary cap. Tight end isn't that good. One of the wide receivers is useless. Running back's useless. Quarterback is that good. Best defensive tackle in the game. Aaron Donald's the best defensive tackle in the game. He's worth every penny. Oh no, Aaron Donald is worth every penny. That's why I wasn't including him in that. But you have 4 players taking up 46% of your salary, and 3 of them are terrible. Goff's not terrible, Chad. Goff's not terrible. I digress. Goff's not terrible. But look, I mean, that's why the Packers. I mean, look at that. And they don't have Jalen Wright, and they have to re-sign. Okay, so you've got 46% of your salary between a wide receiver who's useless, a running back who's useless, a quarterback who's below average, and one of the best players in the NFL. You now have to pay Jalen Ramsey probably $18 million a year because you can't trade 2 first-round draft picks for a guy. You can't trade 2 first-round draft picks for a guy and then not sign him. So if you pay him $18 million, you're going to have 5 players. You're going to have literally 5 players that are going to take up 57%. Let's go down to Robert Woods and Higbee. That's another 8. You're going to have 7 players, right? You're going to have 7 players on a team taking up 67% of your salary cap. And those 7 players are Tyler Higbee, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Todd Gurley, Jared Goff, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. That's going to be 2/3 of your total team salary cap. Cup's going to go. Their best wide receiver's gone. You still got Clay Matthews making $6 million. Think about that. They don't even have an offensive lineman. How are they going to afford an offensive lineman? They have $23 million in salary cap. They have $23 million of salary cap. And of that 23, $18 million is probably going to go to Jalen Ramsey. That leaves them $5 million. They don't even have a freaking offensive lineman on their team. They don't have a first-round draft pick. Draft 5 great off. They don't even have a first-round draft pick. They gave it away. They don't have a first-round draft pick next year. They gave it away. The Los Angeles Rams literally should just disband the team and start over as a brand new franchise. That is the best point of action for the Los Angeles Rams. Draft 5 great offensive linemen. Easy. I mean, there's teams that are bad, and then there's the Los Angeles Rams. How their GM still has a job is absolutely beyond me. But think about that. 7 players are going to take up 67% of their salary cap. They have no offensive. I'm sorry. They have a right tackle. I lied. That's on me. Yeah, that's on me. They have a tackle. They have one tackle. And they have one tackle that's decent, and they're going to have $5 million. What happens if Jalen walked? They might have to let Jalen walk. And then they gave up 2 first-round draft picks for half a year of a guy that couldn't even help them get to the playoffs. If they let Jalen walk, they can afford a roster, yes. They'll have $23 million, and they'll be able to afford a roster, yes. I don't know how they afford a roster if they re-sign Jalen. But how do you let Jalen... How can you possibly pay 2 first-round draft picks for a dude for half a season, not re-sign him, don't even make the playoffs, and then let the guy walk? It's impossible. That's actually so funny. They're screwed. They're so screwed. They have $23 million of cap, and they're going to have to pay Jalen Ramsey. And they legit have one... I mean, they have rookie linemen, right? They do have 5 linemen on a roster. They do have... Actually, I don't even know if they have. They have 2 tackles, a guard. They have 1 guard. Okay, so they do have 2 guards, a center, and 2 tackles on the roster, right? What time is the stream ending? Just curious. I'm not sure, boss. We're going to play a little DayZ. And Jalen's not the kind of guy to take a DayZ. Oh, no. Jalen Ramsey literally came to training camp in a Brinks truck. That tells you all you need to know. The Rams GM needs to be fired. He has to be fired. Literally this second. And guess what? That's next year. It doesn't get much better for the years after.